No, take your time.
There we go. Now, Tom Clemenson,
Take your time,
Panda
Louis.
Voices. Panda Voices. Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having us again.
Yeah.
It's
Sad.
very, very sad circumstances this time around. And now we have to fight even harder to make sure the
We have
same
to.
thing doesn't happen twice at the Memphis Zoo.
Yeah.
Um,
I want to talk about that. Just a little bit about your background and Panda Voices, if you don't mind, for new listeners.
so my background, I'm a union guy, New York City native. Had animals, had pets my whole life. Became an animal advocate over the last few years because I was online now there's a lot of animal based communities. So
Mhm.
the panda community has gotten pretty big. There's a lot of pages that have a lot of followers. We meet people, we all tend to follow the same profiles. So around 2020, it came to light that two giant pandas at the Memphis Zoo were being severely mistreated. Um, They appeared to suffer from malnutrition, parasites, and other skin diseases, as well as just general, what people call zoocosis, which is like a form of animal depression from being held captive for too long. So those pandas, YaYa and LeLe, the male being LeLe, female panda is YaYa. We began to advocate for them, just to raise awareness. Our two goals were to get them better treatment and to eventually get them to retirement because they were both above the age of 20. Retirement meaning having them sent back to China to more of like a conservation style base, where they would no longer be on exhibition. They would just kind of, relax, chill, enjoy the rest of their days, as is common over there. They retire pandas a lot in the homeland, um, in their homeland, I should say. However, we were dealt a pretty severe blow a couple days back when the zoo finally announced that LeLe, the male giant panda, had in fact passed away. Um, the week prior to that, we were on alarm because we have several members that monitor the panda camps at Memphis Zoo. They watch them pretty closely, sometimes in shifts, and a few different members had noticed that LeLe was displaying signs of very poor health. He tried to eat, he couldn't eat. He tried to stand up, he would fall over. He couldn't really walk. We called the zoo, we emailed the zoo. We did what we usually do on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We sounded the alarm. The next thing we know, LeLe disappears off the panda cam for the next 3 days. Now, I know that within the same timeline, Memphis experienced a pretty bad ice storm, and they were also handling protests that were, ongoing police brutality protests. So, I was trying to hold back because I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. But the fact was that we knew something was wrong. We were waiting for them to come out and say what. And finally, on that Monday, this was around January 30th to 31st. We were raising these alarms. That following Monday, they announced that LeLe had in fact passed away.
Days.
Uh, Now, we're raising these LeLe had in fact passed.
How you've been doing this and trying to get them for years now. It's so tragic. Again, when I saw that it had passed with all the work that you've put in, and I'm not going to be able to find the right words for this, Tom Clemenson with Panda Voices, but the fact that, oh, forgive me, no filter, it confirms to the world what you knew, what Panda Voices, the information about the horrific, I don't want to say care, the lack of care, the lack of what the Memphis Zoo was doing. Let me just say it like that before I go on
Yeah,
a
I
long
mean,
rant.
it's you're seeing it for a few years. You know, we have it well documented. In the moment, it's a little bit hard to speak about how much we watched, especially with LeLe's passing, because it's just difficult. You know, some of our members cried for days. I'm still extremely angry about this. It was the exact thing we did not want to happen, which was a beautiful, beautiful animal sees an unnecessary demise in a tiny, tiny enclosure inside of a zoo that never really cared about him. Um, and this is, we've been tracking this on a timeline before we even formed Panda Voices. We went back even further on the zoo's own Instagram account. They show pictures of the two pandas, very happy, very loving. They're receiving things, toys, extra treats, up until about 2014. We didn't come online until 2020. So if you're going back through their pages, it's like, well, what was going on in those last few years? Like, did you guys just forget you had two pandas? Did you stop caring? Um,
Awful.
we believe, in fact, that's around the time they began their breeding program with them. Their health issues began, and the zoo was essentially kind of like hiding them because they were no longer as cute. They were no longer as marketable.
Oh,
If you look in some of their later Instagram posts, especially the ones that are just still shots, it's kind of obvious that there's filters, that there's doctoring, um, because their fur, their appearance is inconsistent. With even with images we pull off of the Panda Cam that are severely grainy, severely low quality, the naked eye can still see that at one point the bear YaYa was missing patches of fur.
oh, oh
But
gosh.
when they post her on Instagram, they set her up, they get her at a certain angle where
Yeah.
everything looks all good. That's fine. Marketing tricks aside, you know, um, it's just coming to light more and more that zoos are not living up to what they present themselves to be. These educational and research centers, they're just essentially prisons where the top line people profit the most. Um, and we're also looking into that. Our real investigation is just beginning now. We're looking into the wages of zoo workers. We're looking into the
Yeah.
bonus structure for the top line people at the zoo because we know that they get paid bonuses.
Oh,
If you can manage to squeeze a bonus out of your budget, but you can't peel off a couple $100 to get
properly.
elephants some extra toys, to get pandas some extra toys, to get the other animals a little extra attention,
To feed them properly.
to feed them properly, you know, and let's keep the approach very real, right? I get it. You're running a business and you want to profit and we all want to pay our bills. You have two pandas. Why would you squander such a beautiful marketing opportunity? You must be hiding something. You must be hiding something because every other zoo in America that has had pandas displays them. The National Zoo has a fairly updated blog about the pandas that they've had. And they've suffered a similar tragedy, but much different because they had a cub die. But the cub was born with a liver obstruction. There was nothing the vets there could do. Unfortunately, that little panda did not live very long, and it wasn't the zoo's fault. Um, Nonetheless, even coming under certain scrutiny in the National Zoo or the Smithsonian Zoo, I believe, their pandas are great. They seem happy, in the very least. They seem well cared for. Um, Memphis Zoo tried to raise the issue of age, and I get that. Again, like, let's speak realistically. Pandas in the wild have an age range of up to 20. In captivity, they could go well above 30 if they're cared for. San Diego Zoo had two elderly pandas that not only grew elderly in San Diego Zoo, but made it out. They were healthy enough to make the flight home back to China and be retired. So a lot of wrong happened at the Memphis Zoo. And I'm sorry to go off here, but
No, please.
so
Man.
again, I'm only dealing realistically. I'm dealing with the facts we have, but I do like to read between lines. And animals in zoos die all the time in America with very little fanfare. And I get it. Pandas are rare. They're a vulnerable species. If you were able to see the press conference that the Memphis Zoo gave, which was the CEO Matt Thompson, um, their head veterinarian Felicia Knightley, and I believe someone else from their zoological department, Miss Janney. I can't remember her full name off the top of my head. The tone of their press conference seemed very hurried, very worried, as if they had something to hide, as if they knew they had to answer to the public. And the timing of it couldn't have been worse. These animals are supposed to be going home, and one of them died. All of you said that the animals were healthy. All of you said that they were healthy enough to go home. In the time between their departure was announced, which was in late last year, the holiday season last year, and now LeLe was observed having a very obvious decrease in his health. There's a very obvious decrease in the attention that they were given. It was almost like I said, I brought up the fact that I'm a union guy early in this episode for a reason. I know when people give up on their jobs. I know when you're phoning it in and you say, oh, well, I don't got to care about this. I'm going to collect a check anyway. That's what my instincts told me when I was looking at the behavior of the Memphis Zoo over the last 2 months. You officially no longer cared.
It's horrific. And if they go to Panda Voices on Facebook, they'll see a lot of the pictures over the time that you all have posted. It's horrific, and you felt getting so close, and you all have worked so hard, and then for this tragedy that did not need to happen,
No.
had LeLe been cared for properly or returned to China, actually.
Or
Correct?
even, it's common
Oh, sorry.
in China, they let the fans get involved. They have no problem letting the fans make donations, whether it's monetary donations, actual toys, fruit. Zunagara in Malaysia, they accept all sorts of donations. They feed their pandas like it's a five-star hotel. The bamboo shoots are the size of baseball bats. Fresh fruit. The keepers, they play with the pandas all the time. They're actually cherished. For just about 3 years, we've documented YaYa and LeLe sitting in their own diarrhea, neglected, the cages not being cleaned for hours, begging for food, pacing back and forth. There's it, there's a motion they make where it looks like they're roaring, but they're really not. They're just jerking their neck up and down. It's a distress signal. Again, ignored, ignored. And you read between the lines again in the press conference that Memphis Zoo gave and then took off of their page. He says that they monitor those cameras closely, that there's more than one camera. So the two panda cams that they let the public view are not just those. There are more cameras that they use to monitor the pandas, I guess at the gate doors, I'm assuming. He says, "Oh, we watch them closely. Sometimes we even watch them 24 hours a day." How did you not see what we saw?
How did they? They ignored. It just. I don't even know how Tom Clemenson to say it. And this is me saying it, not Panda Voices, not Clemenson. They allowed LeLe to die. The words I want to say, again, no filter between my brain and my mouth, is they murdered. He was murdered. He was forced to die. As I'm saying it, I'm trying to think of the proper way. And
Yeah, I
murdered,
mean,
to me, it's, murdered if you actually went in and murdered, or you by
it's
neglect, by
death by neglect, death by
oh,
abandonment.
yeah,
Um,
it's death,
it's
death that shouldn't have
uh,
happened. Oh, sorry.
human to human. Some might argue that it's negligent homicide.
Yeah.
I
Well,
listen. I can't marry
that's,
myself to those words. I do want to be careful about what I
yeah.
say.
I don't need to be as cautious. I
No, of course not. But
understand you know,
we do. As again, I said, like,
conversation. I'm solo.
there's a lot of things that I will say and I will stand by, and the level of neglect was apparent.
Yeah.
Um, it was very apparent. It was documented over the last few years, and it wasn't just documented by Panda Cam. We had people go to the zoo, take pictures. And we also collected anecdotal evidence. People just saying things online. You know, you go through the comments on certain posts. There was one where YaYa was looking extremely skinny, and someone commented, "Wow, that panda looks like it smokes crack." You uh, the things that these little gems that people leave in comment sections, that they leave in review sections. Sometimes it's not just an angry customer. These people are telling you the truth.
Tell you what's going on. Yeah.
They're telling you what's going on, and it's very easy to stack the deck. It's very easy to pay for 100 good reviews. It's very easy to get a bunch of 3-star, 4-star
Is that right?
reviews. Oh, this is a great
Buy 'em.
place.
You can buy them. You
Let's
can
talk
buy.
to the
Yeah.
workers.
Yeah.
Let's see how good they're getting paid. Let's really dive deep, and that's what we intend on doing.
Good.
Because another thing too is the struggles should be connected. It's not just about blaming people. If you could get zookeepers higher pay,
Good.
higher incentive to be better at their jobs, you get zoo workers higher pay and higher incentive to be better at their jobs. They will be. They will be. No one wants to lose a decent paying job. You may have a downswing, but you're going to come back. You're going to do your job again.
Tom,
But if you're going to work day after day and it seems like
poor
it's a dead end,
conditions. Yeah. Bad conditions. No. Yeah. No
what are you going to do?
compensation. Yeah.
What are you going to do? You're going to phone it in. You're going to do a
Yeah.
half-ass job just to get through the day until you can figure out something else.
When, and I agree. And looking into the bonus structure, I think is brilliant, because I never would have even thought about zoo, people involved with zoo, the hierarchy getting bonuses. I just, based on, I mean, it's
Yeah, it's something like, even again, I'm a lifelong New Yorker. I could be extremely skeptical. But even when we started this, I never ever thought that people who run a zoo get bonuses until somebody from Memphis sent us a message. And they said, "Hey, we work at the banks down there. We actually know that some of these guys are getting some pretty big checks, and they're doing whatever they can do to protect them." And when we dive into the zoo's IRS forms, their 990s, which is what a 501c3 has to file, year after year, they show millions of dollars in publicly traded funds. It
Oh,
doesn't detail what it is, but why do you have over $7 million in stocks? And once again, you can't get bamboo shoots.
yeah. How does
You
that?
won't you
It won't do
won't
the basics.
allow
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. No, yeah, totally. Like you won't allow a little bit of pumpkins to be donated. We're not even asking you to spend money. We'll donate these things. They stonewalled us on that, and we have that documented. Other people have tried to give donations, and they documented how the zoo stonewalled them on that as well. What's the problem?
Yeah.
What's the problem? You know, there was one alarming thing I read recently, and I read this last week, right after LeLe had passed. In the zoo in Dallas, they've suffered several acts of sabotage. You know, they had a pair of monkeys stolen. They recovered them from an abandoned house.
Right, right.
Then someone broke into the zoo and murdered a rare bird that had been living there for like over 30 years. Then they found a snow leopard missing, and there was like a perfectly cut hole in a fence for the snow leopard to just escape through. There was also an act of animal theft in a zoo in Louisiana. I'm not tying all these things together. I'm not reading tea leaves, but I sincerely hope we don't have this anti-animal sentiment sweeping the country where people are now taking out their frustrations and their misguided thoughts on animals.
Tom Clemenson, I hope so also. I mean, I remember reading and I read about I should say the accused, the person accused of with the monkeys. And I would urge people to check that out also on the security. And I know that you work closely with In Defense of Animals as do I do, when they expose all these issues with zoos and these roadside. It needs to end. It just needs to end. And here we see the death, say the neglect that caused the death of Lala. That I again, I'm struggling for the words. I purposeful neglect, whatever. They let Lala die and are responsible in that regard for it. Absolutely responsible for it. You're looking into this. Where are things today? Again, you talked about looking into the things, and we've all.
It's
Go ahead.
it's ongoing. It's ongoing. We're you know, with every development, we gain more support, whether that development is positive or negative. Unfortunately, like we're coming off of a very negative development with Lula's passing, which I have to mention. He's essentially we don't just call him King Lula for no reason. He's basically the godfather of our movement. YaYa and Lula are the founding two pandas of Panda Voices. They're the reason we formed, and they'll be the reason why we never end our mission, which is to protect all pandas. You know, we lost him. We really lost our king last week, and that hurts. And this is something we can't let go. So we're not only reviewing the evidence we already have, we're gathering new evidence. And as I said, with every development, we get new followers and new supporters, and people are piling on. We're going through information that's coming to us daily. One little tidbit we just received via Twitter that we have to look into, which was, something similar happened with an elephant named Chai, I believe in the Oklahoma City Zoo. He was an elderly elephant, 35 years old. The zoo said, oh, he had no known health issues, but the fans pressed and pressed and pressed, and it turned out that he was showing signs of illness for weeks. And again, it looks like a zoo just turned a blind eye. I'm a little distressed in the sense that, you know, outside of IDA, outside of In Defense of Animals, the people who should be supporting us aren't there. The zoological associations are not there. The higher authorities are not there. Um, if in fact there's a rash of anti-animal crimes sweeping the nation, what is that? Is this some new form of radicalism? Are people, are people motivated to take out anti-China sentiments on a pair of pandas?
Oh,
These are
oh,
questions that we have to raise as we investigate the actual matter.
I hadn't even thought about that, but you're correct. What's going on? What's going on? I mean, we can see and people can talk about different aspects of culture. I'm getting some emails now about different aspects of culture. Yes, and I agree. This is specific to this, and it needs to be addressed. And it needs to be addressed by these zoos. Again, when you first hear about someone getting into a zoo and taking how can that be? Where's the I mean,
How
I
can
know
you
that
take a
if I
pair of
go into
monkeys
a
out
boat,
of a zoo?
I
Yeah.
know if I go into a bodega in the community, I know I'm on film. I mean, I know they've got resolution. I know if I'm walking down the street, there's cameras, I mean, they're everywhere now. I don't understand how that can happen. Why is that happening? Like you say, I mean, there's the whatever aspect of the individual. And again, me saying it, let me do the disclaimer, not Tom Clemenson, not Panda Voices. So again, I am we all know that mental illness, I don't like things put up, well, mental illness, let's deal with the issue. Yes, there's a lot of mental illness. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed. We've all got issues going on. There's something really amiss here with the people that are doing it, perpetrating those, with the zoo, the Memphis Zoo, this in specifically with LaLa's death, and the neglect, the just what's going on? It's just, I'm almost at a, I know audience is going to say, Lou, you at a loss for words. Yeah, I want to be cautious of what I say, especially while I've got you on.
As we should, as we should. I mean, hyperbolics don't get anybody anywhere. Um, but like I said, I like to read between lines. Tennessee is a deep red state, very Republican. The governor was all over that stupid spy balloon story, which I thought it was ridiculous, but whatever. But he has nothing to say about this. He has nothing to say about a giant panda dying at the zoo. Um, and it seems like the zoo just hopes this goes away. It seems like they
Not
hope
going
they could
away.
just.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It's not going to go away from them. We're already working on the China side. We have Chinese supporters petitioning the zoos over there to not send Memphis Zoo any more pandas. IDA is working with us consistently to keep the alarms up. And as I said, the investigation is ongoing, and we're getting new new reports, new evidence each day.
Yeah, and if people have information, they need to get in touch with you, or if they're able to, or
Yeah, they could reach out through any of our social media platforms. On Instagram, it's at Panda Voices org, all one word. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, and actually, give me one sec. There is a Facebook group that
I want to join.
we're trying to get some more local folks from the Memphis area to join. And let me pull up the name of that right now. It is called Save the Memphis Zoo Pandas.
Okay. I'm gonna get the link. Save the Memphis Zoo Pandas. Good. Save the Memphis Zoo Pandas. Sorry, I'm typing it in.
Yes, it should be the first group that comes up under the groups.
Zoo Panda. I see it. Save them. Good. Okay. And let me
Yeah, so if you're local in the state of Tennessee, the city of Memphis, and you want to help out, or you have any information you'd like to offer us, going on Facebook, find us on Facebook either through Panda Voices or through the group Save the Memphis Zoo Pandas. You can reach us through there and let us know what you know.
Yeah, people may have information, and if you do, regardless of whether you think it's important or not, get the information and let the people at Panda Voices decide. That's one of the things I've known from even from talking with people in law enforcement, detectives, et cetera. People may know something and they think, well, or they probably that's one of the other things. I'm sure they know this. You're not sure they know this. Get the information to you will sift through it and make that
Yeah,
determination at Panda Voices. Don't assume. If you've got some information, if you've got whatever, get it to Panda
please
Voices.
send it through. Because yeah, like you said, don't make any assumptions. Sometimes the obvious is not so obvious, and
Yes.
so you may think that whatever you know is kind of is insignificant. It could end up being big. It could end up being very big.
I got to say that I'm surprised, and I hope China, I hope like you say, there's outrage. Shouldn't They need to do something about this? They shouldn't be allowing this type of treatment, this type of neglect for the precious pandas. I would think that there are groups that, as you were saying, in China that have got to be outraged, just just freaking out about the
Yeah,
relationship and the economics. I get concerned about the economics between those that sell them or loan them, if you will, to the to
and
the
that's another thing. Is as cute as they are, as beautiful as they are. Is everyone in the world a panda lover? Is everyone a panda fan? No.
How could you not be?
I know, how could you not be? But
Yeah.
it's
Sorry, but it's
it's
like,
the unfortunate reality we have to deal with. And of course, some people are just going to see a panda and see dollar signs.
yeah, you're right.
And the other very sad aspect of this is if a panda dies while another zoo has it, that zoo has to cough up some money. So what that amount is based on age, based on what happened, and again, circling back to that mention of investigation, it's been mentioned several times, including in the Memphis Zoo press conference, as well as through I believe CAZG, Chinese Association of Zoos and Gardens, Zoologicals and Gardens, that China intends on sending a special team to investigate the body, that they told the zoo to make sure that the body of the panda is well preserved because they want to look into what exactly killed him. Um, you know, Honestly, in my opinion, it'll be so much worse if it turns out that this was just a simple health problem that they could have fixed and they just didn't. Animals pass,
Sure.
and animals come under the same severe illnesses that people do. They encounter terminal illnesses, they grow old. So, sometimes there's nothing you could do, and we get that. But pandas often face simple things like intestinal obstructions, basic digestive issues that, if they're monitored, they can overcome. If they're neglected, they could die from them. So, it would really, like, it's already killed me as is, but it would really, really
There's
send it deeper if you find out, like, wow,
something.
you guys really could have saved his life, and you didn't.
And that investigation would be ongoing. And I know you all at Panda Voices, and I want to thank everyone that's listening, that's watching. And again, there'll be a YouTube video up I hate to say, as soon as I can get it together, post show and a podcast audio of this also with Tom Clemenson with Panda Voices. I just people like you were saying, not everybody likes pandas, and I get they may not be the favorite. Like some people like cats, some people like dogs, some people like rabbits, some people like all animals. Yet still, I think everyone would be horrified at this, whether you're a panda lover per se or not. Just this horrific event that was either, I won't say perpetrated, you just did, LeLe, allowed to happen. And like you say, if it was something, but still there was the weight loss, there was the neglect, it just awful, just horrific. And again, as you were saying, there is another panda there that needs to get out of there now.
Now,
Address that a little bit more.
her contract ends in April. YaYa's contract ends the same time as LeLe's. I don't see the point in keeping him there another minute. If she's healthy to go right now, then she should be on a plane, heading home, heading to retirement. She served the zoo enough. They've sold enough tickets for you. What more do you want?
Yeah.
And the fact that they're confident that they could receive 2 more cubs is flooring, is absolutely flooring. You visibly neglected the 2 adult pandas you had. You only cared about them from when they were young up until they were like not really young anymore, from the age of 3 to like about 13 or so. The last 7 or 8 years, they just said, screw it. And I mean, even in the press conference, they weren't even, they were referring to LeLe as 25 years of age. His birthday hasn't come yet. So he's still actually only 24. And again, it's like read between the lines because the devil is always in the details. Do you care? And I don't think the zoo cares at all.
Obviously. And they will care if there's enough outrage. Well, they'll have to care because
They'll have to care. Because when their last CEO left, right, and he was the CEO of SeaWorld, which should say a lot. He left, and now this new guy came on, Matt Thompson. And Matt Thompson is a lot more media savvy. He's a lot more social media savvy. He had his own page, Zookeeper Dude or something like that. So I'm sure he sort of value like, oh, we messed up. This panda died. We got to get out in front of it. Um, he was asked in a press conference, like, is it rare that a panda dies on U.S. soil? And his response was, it is rare because they're rare, which is the sort of like flippant turn of just like the get away from me kind of answer. Like it's rare in this case because they're generally not neglected. They're generally put up on a pedestal. Sure, zoos face funding issues, but I mean, we have videos from like a year ago where they just let a family throw leaves and sticks at one of the pandas. No one came over to stop the family. Nothing.
unbelievable. Yeah.
In this case, it's not rare. It actually isn't rare. It's just another case of animal neglect. Um, but you could be cute. Matt Thompson is free to be cute with his words.
Well,
and they have another. I believe when he came on, they had a new chief marketing officer. This guy named Nick Harmeyer. And again, if you guys are so savvy, you guys are such good business people. You're not putting those 2 pandas up front. You're not putting them in the spotlight because you know they look sick.
yeah.
You know they look sick because you guys did something. We're gonna find it out.
I know you
We're
will.
gonna put it out there.
I know you will. Tom Clemenson, Panda Voices, I know you will. When you think about that, they did something, they didn't do something, combination of whatever. As you say, with pandas, you would think that would be one of the main draws for a zoo. We've got pandas. I
Forever.
mean, how many, right? How many?
Every year you have them.
Yeah.
Every year you have them. You know, I mean, if you go to China, certain facilities only have a handful of pandas, but they have loyal fans that come out in droves. You know, my own son, my newborn son, I nicknamed him Mimir. Mimir or Menglan is his real name. Menglan is the panda who escaped his enclosure about a year ago. You know, he's very famous. He has his own set of fans. His sisters have fans. The panda on the other side of the yard, Panda High, he has his own fans. Um, and this is without them really pushing the marketing on them. So again, if the zoo is only cares about dollars and cents, they don't care about animals. Why wouldn't you? You knew something was wrong.
Yeah. I
It's not
agree.
pretty.
It's
It's
ugly.
not pretty enough for you. You want to hide it.
Yeah. And their ugliness shines through when they do something like this. Tom Clemenson, I know you said that you just had a baby a couple of weeks ago, and I'm hoping we'll get to see him in a minute. But what can people do? What else can people do? How can they support the organization, et cetera?
Well, I mean, follow us on all socials because that's where the alerts go out. That's where the updates go out. Um, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, you can follow us on all three if you want. If you're in the immediate area, please contact us. If you're in the immediate area, if you're in Memphis or if you're in Tennessee, if you're willing to stop by the zoo just to take pictures, just to see what's going on and report back to us, can help out a whole lot.
So please get involved. All the social media platforms,
Yeah.
pandavoices.org. Do you have a minute to show us the
Oh yeah. Let's see.
baby? Is that
So
okay with that?
that is son. His name is Chase. This is his little panda room. We have pandas there and
Everywhere.
pandas there. Give me a sec. I'll go grab them. I'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you can, like I say, get involved, support, check out the social media, etc. Panda Voices, Tom Clemenson. I just everybody that's involved, everybody that follows, everybody that's involved with Panda Voices. Tom Clemenson is just such a special human being. He's just such an amazing young man, and this is just absolutely heartbreaking. As we were talking earlier, Tom and I were talking earlier about pandas. You don't need to love them to be horrified by this. Oh, here comes the baby. Oh, I'll tell you something, listeners. I've got to tell you. Oh, listeners, I've got
What's wrong?
to,
What's wrong?
2 weeks, 2 weeks old. Just 2 weeks, right? I'm going to get.
Louis, do you miss this?
Do I miss that? Well, I
Let
don't.
me get him back to his mom. This is
Quick
baby
picture.
Chase.
Quick picture.
Okay. Panda Menglan.
Okay. Yeah, get him back to his mom. I what was I'm not going to quote Dylan. I'm not sure I'm mature enough. At this point, I'm on the decline. So thank you for that. That was
Thank you. Thank you.
you're I know, and it's with all the wonder of your baby being born, yet all the sadness. I don't know how you managed. You're an incredible man.
It was certainly, it was on a personal level. I was in a gym when I found out that they were going home, that the pandas were going home, right? And it was such a happy moment. It's like I'm in a place I love to be in. I love to be working out, and you get high level good news. Something you've been fighting for, working hard for. It's actually going to come into fruition, and that gets followed up with the birth of my son.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a level of
Sorry.
life and victory, and you can't explain it. But back to back, it was like, wow, I got these two great things going on in a row. So now if we could just get to mid-year and get those pandas on a plane.
Um,
And unfortunately, we didn't, about a week after my son was born January 23rd. And as the saying goes, the Lord giveth and he taketh
yeah.
away. And I was given a son, but I was lost, or I was taken away, like I said, the godfather of our cause,
Yeah.
King LeLe. He's one of the two founding principles of this movement. And it makes it that much more personal.
I'm sorry. I'm getting way too emotional. It's just it sickens me and it saddens me. The work goes on, though. The work goes on. No, I'm going to say for me, no time to grieve, time to get in action, because this isn't this. There's more pandas in the United States, more neglect, and at the Memphis Zoo, as we've talked about earlier. It's horrific. I would. I'm again, obviously, for listener, obviously distinguish our voices, Tom Clemenson, but the my outrage at media for not delving into this, for not doing some investigative reporting on this, for using other things as distract, whatever, in that area, in the country. I'll say, of course, in the Memphis area,
Uh,
in the country.
I agree, because we've been pushing for media attention for quite some time, and you've always showed us a very fair platform.
Always will.
But as usual, right, we don't receive our biggest interview until death arrives.
Yeah.
You know, and this is always the case. This is always the case, like I said, in connecting struggles. If you're familiar with like the Khalif Browder story and the bail reform story in New York City, it's a kid who could have been freed a long time ago. He didn't have to die from the mental health conditions that he gained while being unnecessarily incarcerated. You know, why are we constantly avoiding the alarms? Why are we constantly calling people crybabies or saying that they're just making things up? Maybe, just a little bit of attention. That's all you need to change something. Um, a little bit of attention could have changed this issue at the Memphis Zoo. One or two employees who actually cared. Um, but instead now we're at an extreme point, and of course that's when we get bigger interviews from bigger news outlets. They don't just want a simple one line thing. Now they're looking to talk to us. You could have had a much, if you would have helped us out a few months ago, it would have been a much different story.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And now, come in on the tragedy. But it needs the attention. Nonetheless, it needs the attention. It needs the attention. And again, where's the investigative reporting, et cetera? We are doing it at Panda Voices. And as I always say to you, Tom Clemenson, with Panda Voices, I'm honored to know you, and I'm grateful for. Certainly, I'm always grateful for you doing a gig with me. And I always, anytime, that about me, you and Panda Voices, the fact that you do what you do because of your passion, because of your love, because of your heart, is an amazing thing. And I'm honored to know you. This is
Thank
just
you.
so tragic. It's just sorry. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. It's
Keep me
so
updated.
yeah,
Keep me looped in. I'll be and
absolutely. You do stay in touch with me. I got your number.
yeah. Any time for you, Tom, for Panda Voices. I'm here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
the
you
time today.
always, and congratulations to you and your wife again, Chase.
Thank you,
Beautiful, beautiful. Thanks, man, so much.
Louis. Have a great one, man.
do the same. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Clemenson, Panda Voices. I would urge